It's 2 a.m. and I'm half awake, still tangled in the sheets, when I hear the soft creak of the door. I don't register it at first, just a blur of sound, like the house settling into the stillness of the night. But then I feel it, the weight of a presence in the doorway. My heart skips, something raw and electric flickering through me as I force my eyes open. I freeze. The room is dark, only the dim light from the hallway seeping in through the crack of the door, casting long shadows. And then I see him. His silhouette just barely visible. My brother. He's standing there motionless, like he's waiting for me to say something, anything. But I don't move, can't move, trapped by the weight of the moment. We've crossed lines before, but this feels different. Why are you here? My voice is shaky, betraying the calm I'm trying to project. He doesn't answer immediately, stepping closer, and I can hear the slow, deliberate rhythm of his breathing. He's too close now, and his presence fills the room, making it feel too small. My pulse is racing, and I realize too late how exposed I am. I'm not ready for this, not mentally prepared for what he might do. But his eyes, they're fixed on me with an intensity one can't deny. His presence is magnetic, like an invisible thread pulling me toward him despite every ounce of resistance in me. "Don't pretend you don't know why I'm here," he finally says, his voice low and smooth like a promise. He sounds different. There's an edge to it now, something darker, more desperate. And I feel it too. This growing tension that's been simmering between us. Only it's no longer a whisper. It's screaming, and I can't ignore it. We've always been close, too close, and I've tried to convince myself it was just the bond of siblings, nothing more. But the truth is impossible to ignore now. The way he looks at me, the way his hand lingers just a moment too long when we touch. It's not normal. I can't deny it anymore. And I'm scared. Not just of what he might do, but of what I might let him do. I try to pull the blanket up, to shield myself from whatever's coming next, but it's pointless. The air between us is thick, charged. And the longer we stand there, the more I know it's already too late. Something's about to break, and I don't know if I can stop it. The door clicks shut behind him with a finality that makes my heart drop. There's no turning back now. The room feels smaller now. It's like we're both breathing the same air. And it's thick with something I can't name. I'm lying back on the bed, the sheets tangled around me, my hands gripping them in a way that feels desperate. He's standing at the foot of the bed now, just watching. I can't tell if he's waiting for me to say something, or if he's lost in his own thoughts. Either way, it's suffocating. "Don't just stand there," I finally say, my voice a little more confident than I feel. "What do you want?" The words hang in the air, and he doesn't move for a long time. He just stands there, his eyes scanning me, lingering a little too long on the curve of my body, the way the sheets cling to me. It's like he's seeing me for the first time, and it sends a chill through me because I know this look, this quiet hunger. I try to look away, but it's impossible. I can feel his eyes on me like a touch, and it makes my skin crawl in the best and worst ways. "You know exactly what I want," he says finally, his voice low, almost a whisper. His gaze doesn't waver, and it's like he's daring me to deny it, to push him away. But something about the way he says it sends a rush of heat through me. His words don't feel like a question, they feel like a claim. And I can't tell if I want to fight it or give in. I shift uncomfortably, trying to create some distance, but my body betrays me. I feel the warmth of the air, the humidity that builds in the room as we stay locked in this space. His presence is all-consuming, and it's impossible to ignore. He steps forward just a little, and it feels like the room shrinks even more. My breath hitches, my chest tightening as I watch his hand move toward the bed. It's a slow, deliberate motion, and I feel it, the pull between us. It's like a magnet, but I don't want to give in. I can't. Not like this. Not when everything feels so wrong. But then his fingers brush the edge of the sheet. It's not a touch I expect. It's too casual, too intimate. And I swear, the moment his skin touches mine, I can feel it. The shock of heat spreading through my body, igniting something deep inside. I hate how much I want it, how much I want him. I want to pull away, to scream at him, to leave. But my body doesn't respond to the words in my head. My heart pounds in my chest, and my mind races to justify it all, to find an excuse. But the more I try to rationalize it, the more the pull between us intensifies. He looks down at my hand, which is still gripping the sheet, and without a word, he reaches down to gently pry my fingers free. There's no hesitation in his touch, just the smooth pressure of his hand on mine. as if he's done it 1,000 times before. The moment our hands make contact, something snaps inside me. His touch is warm, and it feels like fire spreading under my skin. I know I should pull away, but I don't. I can't. Why are you doing this? I whisper, but the question is weak. I already know the answer. I'm too afraid to admit it, too afraid to admit how much I want him to. His thumb runs over my knuckles slowly, each pass like an unspoken promise. I shiver. The room feels hotter now, unbearable, and I suddenly feel acutely aware of every inch of my body. The way the fabric of the sheets rubs against my skin. The way my breath comes faster and faster. I want to pull away to escape, but the air is thick, and I feel like I'm sinking into the weight of it all. You want this too, he says, his voice barely more than a murmur, and it feels like a truth I can't deny. I don't know what I want. Or maybe I do, but I'm too scared to face it. His hand moves inches closer to me. His fingers trace the edge of my wrist, the skin there sensitive, the pressure of his touch electric. It's a light, teasing touch, but it sends a jolt of electricity through me. I can't look away. My body betrays me again. I can feel the heat rising between us, the palpable tension that wraps around us, tightening, suffocating. The subtle way he moves closer, never quite touching me fully, but always so close that it feels like I'm on the edge of something I can't control. He leans in slightly, close enough for me to feel his breath on my skin, warm and soft. I should be backing away, should be fighting, but instead my body is frozen, caught in the magnetic pull of him. I can smell the faint scent of his cologne, sharp and masculine, and it mixes with the heavy air around us, filling my senses until I feel dizzy. He doesn't say anything for a while, just watches me like he's waiting for something. And I know what he's waiting for. He's waiting for me to make the choice. But I don't know if I can choose. I don't know if I want to choose. The silence between us is unbearable now, the air thick with tension, every second stretching longer than the last. My heart pounds louder, faster, as though it's trying to break free from my chest. He's so close now that I can feel the heat radiating off his body, his breath mingling with mine, and it makes everything inside me feel alive in a way I can't explain. It's like something in me is waking up, something dark and insistent. And the worst part? I can't tell if I want to fight it or give in. His hand, warm and steady, is still gently holding mine, and it's enough to send a tremor through me. I should pull away, should tell him to stop, but I don't. I can't. You don't have to act like this isn't what you want, he murmurs, his voice rough, almost like it's being dragged from him. His thumb brushes over my palm again, the touch slow and deliberate, like he's tracing a path that only the two of us know. Every inch of my body is alive now, every nerve screaming. His words hit something deep in me, a truth I've been hiding from, and my breath hitches. The room is too small, and yet it feels like we're the only two people in the world right now. His eyes flicker to my lips, and I know what's coming before it happens. The space between us is gone in an instant. His lips crash onto mine, hot and insistent, and I gasp, my mind going blank for a moment. The kiss is brutal, urgent, like a storm breaking loose. His mouth moves over mine with such raw hunger that I can't think, can't breathe. All I feel is him. All I can think about is the way his lips are pressing against mine. The way his hand grips my wrist, pulling me closer. I don't fight it. I don't want to fight it. The kiss deepens and I meet him halfway, my hands tangling in his shirt, pulling him closer, needing more. My body presses against his, and I can feel the tension in every muscle, every inch of skin. The heat between us is suffocating, burning through the layers of clothing that separate us, and it feels like we're on the verge of something we can't undo. He pulls away for a second, just enough to let me catch my breath, but his eyes don't leave mine. There's something wild in them now, something dangerous, and it makes my stomach twist in anticipation. You know we can't stop now, he says, his voice low, almost like a challenge. The words feel like an invitation, like a promise, and I'm already too far gone to back out. Before I can even think, his hands are on me, slipping under the fabric of my shirt, his fingers hot against my skin. I can't remember how it happened, how we crossed that line, how I let him pull me closer, but now it's impossible to go back. I want him, want this, and the thought of stopping feels like a distant, absurd thing. His touch is urgent, desperate, like he's afraid if he slows down, he'll lose me. My hands move on their own, yanking at the hem of his shirt, pulling it over his head. I'm shaking, my body betraying me in a way I can't control. I want him closer, need him closer, and I can't think past that need, that fire consuming me. His mouth is on my neck now, lips hot and rough against my skin, and I can't suppress the soft moan that slips out. It's like a spark, lighting a fire that only grows hotter, spreading through me with every kiss, every touch. His hands are everywhere, roaming, touching places that make my breath catch in my throat. I want to push him away, to stop, to think, but all I can do is respond, my body arching into his, pushing closer. And then in one fluid motion he lifts me, throwing me back onto the bed. The sudden movement takes me by surprise and I gasp, but I don't protest. I can't. He's on top of me now, his body pressing into mine, and I feel the weight of him, the heat of him, like we're two halves of something that was always meant to be. His hands roam over my skin, his lips trailing down to my chest, and I feel like I'm losing control, like I'm slipping into something dark and beautiful that I can't pull away from. His lips are at my ear, his breath hot against my skin. Tell me you want this, he whispers, his voice rough and low, and I shiver at the sound of it. I don't have to say anything. My body says everything for me. I pull him down, my mouth on his again, desperate, hungry. I feel his hands on my hips, his fingers digging into my skin, and I gasp against his lips. He's everywhere, consuming me, and there's no room for anything else, no space for doubt. Just him. Just us. But even as I lose myself in the moment, something flickers at the edge of my mind. A thought that cuts through the fog of desire like a knife. What are we doing? What have we done? The realization hits me like a wave, crashing over me, but it's too late. I'm too far gone, too lost in him, and I know there's no going back now. The moment stretches on, too intense, too fast, like it's all spiraling out of control. But nothing matters except the way his body moves against mine. The way we fit together, like this was the way it was always meant to be. There's no hesitation now, no second thoughts, just raw, unrestrained need. And then, in the midst of it, the world shifts. The door creaks again, and suddenly reality slams into me. His hands freeze on my body and I jerk back, eyes wide with panic. The sound of someone approaching, footsteps growing louder, slices through the tension. Shit, he mutters under his breath, pulling away abruptly, his face a mix of frustration and guilt. But we both know it's already too late. The damage has been done, and the room feels colder now, the tension hanging heavy, suffocating. I stare at him, unable to breathe, my mind a storm of emotions. Guilt, desire, fear. But the worst part is knowing that I can't undo what just happened, that nothing will be the same again. We've crossed a line, and I don't know how to step back from it. The weight of what happened is unbearable now. Every inch of space between us seems to tighten, pressing down on us both as we stand there trying to catch our breath. The door, still open, creaks again, and I feel the distant echo of everything we've just done hanging in the air. I want to turn away, pretend this never happened, but the heat between us refuses to be ignored. His eyes are on me, dark and full of something I can't quite name, but it makes my heart beat faster. I can't believe we did that, I say, voice barely a whisper, my hands trembling. The words come out of me before I can stop them, but even as I say them, part of me isn't sure I regret it. His gaze never leaves mine. Why? You didn't pull away, he counters, his voice low and thick with tension. You didn't stop me. My pulse hammers in my ears as his words cut through the fog in my mind. It's the truth. I didn't stop him. I didn't pull away. I let it happen. I wanted it. I wanted him. But hearing him say it so bluntly shifts something in me. A new weight settling into my chest. I didn't think you'd, I start, but my voice falters as he steps closer, closing the gap between us that's only grown more suffocating with every passing second. We both know what we want, he says, almost too quietly, his voice a mixture of raw need and something else, something deeper that I can't quite place. He steps even closer, and I feel the heat of his body pressing into mine again. I can't breathe. God, I can't back away now. The air between us crackles, heavy with everything unsaid. There's no more pretense, no more hiding from this. He lifts a hand to my cheek, his fingers gentle against my skin, but his eyes are anything but gentle. His gaze is intense, full of something dangerous. He's not just talking about the kiss anymore. This is more than that. This is everything we've danced around, everything we've avoided. I didn't know how much I wanted you until I kissed you. He murmurs, the words hanging in the space between us like a confession. I catch the smallest shift in his expression, just a flicker of emotion that I can't quite place, and for a moment everything between us seems fragile, as though it could break at any second. What if this was the beginning of something we weren't ready for? What if we're both in over our heads, but neither of us wants to admit it? The question lingers unspoken and we both know it. We're standing on the edge of something dangerous, and I don't know if either of us has the strength to take a step back or if we even want to. The tension between us has evolved into something more complicated. There are no clear answers, no neat resolution. But it's there, like a crack in the foundation of everything we once knew, threatening to widen and swallow us whole. I look at him one last time, really look at him, and for a fleeting moment everything is clear. There's no more pretending, no more denial. This is bigger than either of us. He turns toward me, his eyes locking onto mine, and for the first time tonight, it doesn't feel like a game anymore. It's raw, it's real, and it's unavoidable. His gaze is full of something that could be regret, but there's also a flicker of desire. A dangerous mix of emotions that neither of us can control. Without saying a word, he takes a step toward me, and I can feel my heart race in my chest. The world outside might still be waiting for us, but it doesn't matter. The future doesn't matter. Not right now. Right now, all that matters is this: the unresolved tension, the fear, the desire, and everything that's been building between us. And as he closes the distance between us, the room feels impossibly small, the air thick with what's left unsaid. The door is still open, but there's no escape. The moment is too far gone. The final image is of him standing before me, the air heavy with everything we've just done, with everything we're about to face. Our breath mingles and I can feel the pull again. The magnetic force that neither of us is strong enough to resist. And that's the last thing I see, the uncertainty in his eyes, the rawness in his stance, the undeniable reality that this isn't over. It's only just begun.